Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rita. So for today we have a very exciting new release by Kat Von D. You can probably tell by the title, we're gonna be talking about her brand new Good Apple concealer. So you probably are familiar with the whole Good Apple because last year it became like a TikTok sensation. The foundation was out of stock for the longest time and we have it right here. Of course, I was able to pick one up a while back and I do have a full review on this. I'll leave it linked down below. So now she came out with the concealer with the same name. So naturally, this is going to be a full coverage concealer. And if you're new to my channel, you probably don't know this, but I do have vitiligo on my skin. So every time that I do my makeup, I look for a full coverage concealer to cover the white patches that I do have them around my eyes and around these areas of my mouth. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about pricing and how many shades she came out with. I did pick up mine from Sephora and this is going to retail for $28 and the amount of product you get is the usual size of a concealer, which is going to be 0.33 ounces or 10 milliliters if that's kind of like what you go for. And she came out with 32 different shades, which I feel like it's a good range and you most likely will be able to find your shade. I feel like a concealer for, you know, my personal uses, if it's a high coverage concealer, it can get very cakey very fast. So it really caught my eye that some of the claims of this concealer is going to be, of course, it's going to be full coverage, but it's also going to provide a natural finish and it's going to be hydrating under your eyes or wherever you apply. So if you're not familiar with the brand, Kat Von D is going to be cruelty-free and vegan, which I absolutely love. I do only showcase, buy, and talk about products that are only cruelty-free in my channel and of course in my everyday. So I was very intrigued whenever this came out because full coverage concealer can go very bad if it's not the right one. Under your eyes, you're always gonna have lines and all sorts of things going on. So with a concealer that's gonna be a little too thick or a little too cakey, your under eyes can look really bad. Today is super bad. It is very cloudy, so I hope this looks good. I always like to film, especially makeup, in natural light, so we'll see how it goes. So before we actually get into the concealer, I am going to be doing my face. The only thing that I have is this Smashbox primerizer on my face, and I did add a little bit of glowy, also kind of like primer from Charlotte Tilbury. I am going to be doing my face, like my foundation, real quick. I'm gonna be using the Kat Von D Good Apple. I just wanted to kind of like show you how I do it real quick. I'm not gonna be talking, just so you can see the coverage that it provides. I do have a full review of this. I will leave it linked down below. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and apply this with probably a brush and then switch to a sponge. So in the Good Apple foundation, I'm in the shade medium 039, and for the concealer I picked shade medium 131. Now let's move on with the concealer. So this is what the bottle looks like. It's going to be a very sleek component. It does have her logo embossed on the very top, and it has this kind of like droplet situation here. It's not a droplet, it's just kind of like what it looks like. And then it's gonna be all black, and then on the bottom it does have the shade peeking through. So let's go ahead and try it. Whenever I saw it and I received it, I immediately opened it and I thought maybe this is gonna be a little light for me. So we'll see. It has a very interesting doe foot applicator. I really like it. I mean, I haven't used it, of course, but it looks like it's going to be nice because it's very much a smaller size that I think it's going to work very well with the smaller areas on your eye. So I am going to just start applying this. If you are new to my channel, I do have vitiligo. So the way I use concealer is going to be by I use it to cover the whiteness in my face from the vitiligo. So I'm just adding that. That's as much as I used. I just grabbed one time the product. And now with my brush, I'm going to start blending the one here. I do have a lot of whiteness that didn't cover very well. That covered pretty good, actually. Wow, I'm impressed. You can still kind of see it, but not as much. And then around my nose, because I do have redness. And now let's go ahead and start blending the one on the eye, or the one around the eye. I'm gonna switch to a Rare Beauty brush. I believe this is going to be a foundation brush, but I really like it for my concealer. This is what I use all the time. So I'm gonna go ahead and start blending. The color match is a little bit lighter. I feel like I could have gone maybe one shade darker, but it's always hard to pick a foundation or a concealer on a website. Okay, so that is very full coverage, but it's also very it's very illuminating on the eyes. I really like it, like on the under eye. And just to give you a close-up, you can still see kind of like where the whiteness is a little bit. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add just a little bit extra, but this did a pretty good job. I feel like if you don't have vitiligo or you're not trying to cover like something major, this is like something major discoloration. This is really good. So let's go ahead and add a little bit more, and I'm gonna bring it down just a tiny bit so we can blend it into the bottom of the face. And I'm just going to grab the same brush and just blend it away. And that built up very, very nicely. Okay, so that went very, very well. I really like how it covered, and I was able to build up, and the product remained nicely and able to build up. I have mentioned this a lot of times in my channel. Some concealers, even whenever they're high coverage or full coverage, once you try to add or build more, it kind of like starts to blend away. That definitely didn't happen with this. You can see how well it covered. It covered well enough that I am happy with the result. And let me show you side by side. So here is my this side of my face that does not have that concealer, so you can still see the white patches from vitiligo, and also over here all over you can see that whiteness. You can also see it right here, and then if I turn, it is almost unnoticeable. I am very, very impressed. So once again, here it is just me looking straight into the camera, so you can see how good this concealer covered. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and finish my other side of the face. So I'm just gonna go ahead and blend out. I did apply some lipstick because I feel like I was looking very dead. So I'm just blending with the same brush. Wow, you guys, I am very impressed. You can see my other beauty mark here. It's almost non-existent. So I'm also going to kind of like try to clean it. This is a very full coverage concealer. I really like it, and I kind of like messed it up, so let's go ahead and let's redo that. Okay, so here it is, very close up, because once again there's no boundaries in this channel, so you can see a little bit better. And then down here, which is another problematic area that I have a harder time sometimes covering, it actually looks pretty good. I feel like it covered very, very beautifully, while also giving me that highlighty or illuminating awakened look, which I really like. Okay, so here's everything. I'm gonna go ahead and complete my face. I'm gonna go ahead and powder, do the full face, and then I'll be right back. So far, this is beautiful. Honestly, concealers really don't make a difference for me in like time frame. So if I apply it right now and it's looking beautiful and I like how it looks, it's going to remain the same. It's not like a foundation that it's going to either rub off or sweat. I mean, it's just a concealer, and I am really loving it. It's probably going to become a favorite. I don't like to speak too soon, but it's looking wonderful. It covered what I need to cover. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and finish up this face and get this hair done, and then I'll be right back. Makeup is all done, and the light is even worse. It's only been like 35 minutes after I did the first clip of me applying the concealer, and now the light is just non-existent. But anyway, let's just jump right into this kind of like first impressions, thoughts on this concealer. Overall thoughts, I love it. I don't think you can say as many things about a concealer. Whenever you know what you like, it's very easy to know what, like whenever you know what you're looking for in a concealer, it's very easy to know if you're gonna like it or not, if that makes sense. So I look for in a concealer 3 things. Number 1, and the biggest thing, is gonna be full coverage. I want my concealer to be full coverage, as I use it in a different way as I would say the average person. I feel like most everyone uses concealer to brighten their under eyes and to sometimes spot conceal, like if they have a little, you know, a little something on their face, they'll spot conceal. I use concealer to cover big areas in my face where I do have discoloration, which is no pigment at all. I have white patches in my skin, so I use concealer to cover that. This concealer gave me all of the coverage and more. It performed beautifully. I was able to build up more coverage, and it did not blend away. That happens to me so frequently. You wouldn't think so, especially coming from a high coverage concealer. Sometimes concealer tend to, whenever you're trying to build up, they tend to blend into nothing. That didn't happen. I was able to add more coverage, as you saw, and the more coverage came up and it didn't blend away. So I am very impressed with this concealer. I wasn't expecting the whole illuminating or brightening part of it, but I am very happy with it. It illuminated or brightened my under eyes very beautifully. It is a high full coverage concealer and it does not feel thick at all. It was just very lightweight. To avoid helping that concealer, I didn't apply any kind of mist, any kind of like rose water or my usual Charlotte Tilbury finishing spray, because I wanted to see how that concealer performed in the way of if it's going to look heavy, if it's going to accentuate my lines, because of course I have under eye lines like everyone else does. But honestly, it looks beautiful. I'm gonna get like super close once again, so you can see how my under eyes are just looking beautiful. There's nothing, like there's no thickness, even though I did add more concealer. It's just very smooth, and you can see how there's barely any notice of a vitiligo underneath, which is my go-to. That's exactly what I want in a concealer. Then I added also a little bit around my nose and then a lot down here. I did add a bunch on this side because that's the hardest for me to cover, and it covered perfectly. This is probably, my skin changes a lot from, you know, the discoloration. So lately I've had a hard time finding a concealer that covered everything perfectly. I had to kind of like grab 2 concealers, sometimes even 3 concealers to achieve the shade that I needed. Did not happen with this. I just applied 1 layer, then I added and built up on the, you know, areas that I needed, which is going to be on the external sides, like right here, and it just covered perfectly and beautifully. I am very, very impressed. I don't want to say impressed because honestly, this foundation that I also tried at the beginning from Kat Von D, which is also a very full coverage foundation, is very beautiful and it goes on very smooth and it covers everything. So I don't want to say I was surprised, but yes, I guess, because it's always, you don't never know with makeup. It performed beautifully and I give it a 10 out of 10. If you are looking for some concealer to actually cover and provide you full coverage, but at the same time brighten your under eyes, highly, highly recommend you pick this up. She came out like usual with a ton of different shades. So I feel like you will most likely find your shade. I love that Kat Von D does this with all her releases, either concealer or powders or foundations. She comes out with a big range of shades, which it is very appreciated because not everyone is going to be the same light, medium, deep. So anyway, you guys, there's not much to say except for this also gonna be probably very long like always. I love to talk if you haven't noticed. But yeah, highly recommend. This is going to be my probably upcoming favorite concealer. I will be using it more during, this couple of weeks and months, and then I'll probably tell you, you'll probably see this guy hanging around my channel a lot more. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, like always, please give it a big thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe before you leave, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!